Before the show, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Beefmaster Educational Endowment Fund. Thank you for what you're doing for the breed and for supporting us. The Southeastern Beefmaster Breeders Association, or SEBA, thank you for supporting us, and be on the lookout for the convention and sale every August. Emmons Ranch Beefmasters, they need no introduction. They've been around for years. Thank you for always breeding great stuff and for supporting our show. C&M Ranches, Kershaw, South Carolina, the Chick family, great cattle. Thank you for supporting us. Lissy's Beefmasters, again, needs no introduction. Thank you for supporting us, and be on the lookout for their sales every year. Cottage Farms Beefmasters over in Jackson, Tennessee. Thank you for supporting us and for what you do for the breed. Thank you to all of our sponsors. We couldn't do it without you. Welcome into Beefmaster Banner. We're your hosts, Josh Morrison and Jared Strickland. What's going on, Jared?
Oh, not a lot. Just getting busy. We've been getting Fair Week started, so I'm all doing all these livestock shows and stuff.
Oh, boy.
So I'm about ready for that to wind down.
Well, I feel sure it's like here. Fair season's getting ready to start.
Exciting times, right?
Can y'all hear me now?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay. All right. I'm having technical difficulties over here, so we'll kind of look like we're not knowing what we're doing tonight, Jared, but that's okay. You know.
Oh, that's all right. Just part of it.
Always need to do a little something different. For those of you that don't know, that is Bruce Robbins you're hearing over there, and he is our guest tonight. How you doing, Bruce?
Very good, buddy. Everything's going together nice. All summer's been good, and all fall's even crazier.
Still hot out there in Texas?
Oh, no, we had a real cool spell. Now it's 95, 98, something like that.
Cool. A cool front has moved in.
That's what they called it today on the news.
Oh, man. They're keeping you busy burning the roads up this fall too, huh?
Yes, sir.
You sure be jealous. It was 52 degrees when I walked out the door this morning.
Yeah, the beauty, I went up to that Beefmasters in Bluegrass, and I got just a taste of y'all's weather. It was beautiful. 52 morning and 75 afternoon.
Yeah, that's hard to beat.
That's what it is here for the next 2 weeks, and we're dead in the middle of calving season, and it couldn't have come at a better time.
Oh, it's perfect.
So that's great. But thank you again for coming back on with us. I know we had a group of us the last time. It's just us three tonight. Would like to talk to you more about what it is you do. We know you own Robbins Cattle Consulting and Marketing, but maybe some folks don't know exactly what goes into it. And then maybe hit Pedigrees. It's kind of Jared and I have been trying to work off more hot topics lately. And that seems to be one here in the past, Jared, couple months or so.
Yeah, it's been discussed several times.
The real importance behind it and things like that. So we'll hit that after all this. But I know you introduced yourself last time, so maybe we can just get right into it. Tell us exactly what it is that Robbins Cattle Consulting and Marketing does.
Well, let me give you a brief history. When I got into all this, I'd graduated at OSU, ran a stockyards for a year, worked for Thompson Cattle Marketing for about 8 years, which they do what I'm doing now, or we did what I'm doing now. And then I went to BBU for 4 years as the vice president of field services. And in 94, I started this Robbins Cattle Consulting and Marketing. And my whole idea and plan at that time, just from all that past history, was to consult on ranches and consult on sales. At that time, in 94, there was no such thing as a sale consultant. And nobody really worked much with herd consulting except for the BBU classifiers. And that's what I had done for those 4 years. I was looking at 20 to 30,000 head of cattle a year as a classifier. And that put me in every size herd, every breeding program you can imagine, and every idea of Beefmasters that you ever ran into. So it gave me that what I thought was a great idea to go to ranches and help them produce a better product, which would help all of us, right? It would help them produce a better product. They could go to a sale with a better product. Everybody benefited, okay? And that's kind of how I got started. And the thing about me going to a ranch, it's just new eyes, is a simple fact. Everybody has their pride in production, right? What I produced. Well, I offered an outside, unbiased opinion. And it was brutal because I would come in and tell them things sometimes what they didn't want to hear. But in the end result, as long as somebody's open-minded about it, you end up producing a better product, right? And working through all the ins and outs of what your goals are, what you want to do, how big's your program, how much land do you have, all of these little simple things, but things you have to work out. And my idea, which is still today, is you make a plan and then you work that plan. The biggest thing about that is when I show up, I'm looking at quality first. I'm looking at your cows, your calves, your bull, the whole overall program, and just trying to talk to you, the breeder, the owner, and see what is it you want to do in the beef master business. What are you trying to accomplish? Are you trying to sell purebred females in sales? Are you trying to produce great bulls? Are you trying to produce bulls that go to commercial bull sales? Everybody's got different niches that they want to try to work into. And so I offer that idea or that other idea of, okay, let's look at this way to get there.
That's right. And a good way to kind of look at it too is you've got connections to other ranches and maybe help those folks connect with other buyers and things like that as well. Certain types of cattle go together.
Well, that was the key in my sale consulting, right? Like in I think it was 95, somewhere right after I got started into all that. Oh my goodness. I went to 50, 60 ranches and worked 30, 40 sales. And just what you said, Jared, by doing that, I knew that somebody over here in Louisiana wanted this, and somebody in Texas wanted that, and somebody in Tennessee wanted this. And so I became a real asset at the sales for those items, right? Those pieces of the puzzle for a breeding program. And that was my whole plan. The only thing I didn't have in my mind at that time, and it got forced on me basically by the ranches I worked with, was getting into the sale management. And I can give you the greatest idea or the greatest thing that happened was L2 Ranch, a tremendous ranch. I'd known them since the mid 80s. And in the late 90s, Fred Long told me, he said, we're going to have a production sale and you're going to manage it. And I said, well, wait a minute, that's not what I do. He said, well, you're going to do mine, you know? And so when you spend years working with people, helping them build this program, then all of a sudden they want me to manage the sale, do their production sale. And so that was something that came up, and I qualified that. I don't do open consignment sales. I will consult on them, but I don't do them. I like working with herds. I like working with breeders. I help people consign their cattle. That's the other thing that comes out of a consulting, is that by doing what I've done all these years, going on 40 years now, I've got a real good handle of what type of cattle need to go where. You can take too good of an animal to a certain sale or not a good enough animal to a certain sale, right? And so I help people place their cattle in other sales besides if they're not having their own.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important to note too, Bruce, that, I know you said that you'd been all over the world as far as the United States looking at different herds. I think sometimes we get fixated on how big our herds can be and how big we can grow them. And sometimes I feel like if you would focus and just run what we can, whether that be, I don't know, 20 head versus 100 that you can't keep up, you can still have just as much success with a very small herd as you can a big herd. Would you agree with that?
100%. But I help some people. Jim Duncan is a great example of that. His slogan, I'll probably say it wrong, but it was like little farm, big results or something like that. And we looked at his place. He had 100 acres and he had been trying to run like just what you said, like 40 cows and a bull. And the first thing I told him, I said, you need to be running 20 cows and let's produce the best cattle we can. And all of a sudden, his thing just exploded in the time he was here. And that's your point is great in that a lot of people get into this and they start trying to have too many cows instead of quality cattle. You can do more, make more with fewer really good cows than you can a bunch of average cows. It's all over. I don't care where you live, where your marketplace is. That is tried and true and works.
And I think too. Go ahead,
Josh. I was saying that's definitely tried and true. I've seen it, over the years. I haven't been in it nowhere near as long as most, but over 10 years, you see the high end stuff, the good quality stuff is always going to net out a lot of times better than the average.
100%. And it's not, a lot of people equate that to, oh, well, I can't afford to go buy those cattle. Yes, you can. You can afford them. What you have to do is find them. They're in every sale. There are cattle in every sale across this great breed. That there are individuals that are great pieces for anybody's farm or ranch. It does not matter. And there's always been this thing about the little breeder and the big breeder. Well, yes, there are little breeders and there's big breeders. Quit being afraid of that. Quit worrying about that. What you want is whatever your size is to have quality. Just breed quality. The better the cattle are, the better your results are. And yes, that's hard. That gets harder because new breeders especially, will roll into this thing and they see people spending 5 and 10 and 15 and 20 and 30 and 40. And they say, oh man, I can't do that. Okay, give me your price range. You may not get the cattle you want immediately, but in time, with patience, you'll get the right cattle. Where people mess up, in my opinion, consistently from the 80s when I got started to right now, is they don't have patience. You have to have patience. You have to take your time. You have to talk to somebody, me, your friend, your neighbor, whoever, but get ideas about what you want to do and how you want to do it. And then we'll go out and find the pieces that will make that work.
And there's a lot of times too that, you look at these sales now, they're so deep with quality cattle. Just because it's at the bottom of a sale order or, in the bottom half of a sale order doesn't always mean there's something wrong with them or there's quality. Something's got to sell first and something's got to sell last. So just because they're down there, I feel like it's important to mention, don't be scared of those.
No, absolutely not. I tell people every day, all the time, that if you can, and now we can because of the DV auctions and all the different ways you can tap into a sale, the more established, I don't like to say big breeders, but the more established breeders, people that have had sales for 10, 15, 20 years, and they're successful sales, that's where you can go get the biggest bang for your buck. Just like what you're saying, because they're bringing their best to town. You see these sales all over and they're bringing the best they got, and they may have 50, 60, 70 head in that sale. Well, my goodness, you can let all the 20s and 30s go through the sale ring and then be watching. You all have seen it. You can get into the middle to the late of that sale, and all of a sudden you're buying an excellent individual for 3, 6, 5, 7, 8, whatever your little price range is. And I tell people that you figure your price range, you figure out what the dollars is you can afford to spend. And if you'll talk to me, I can help you find what you want. The biggest thing that happens out there, and I'll tell you an insider secret. Okay, here it comes. I make my living off the 80% of the people that don't ask me a question. The 20% of the breeders that will come to a sale and ask me, hey, this is what I'm trying to find. What do you think? Where is it? Is it here? Is it not? People, you just got to talk to people. And people, I try to talk to everybody I can. I'm not the recluse at a sale. I'm very available. But sometimes people, oh, well, I don't want to bother him. He's talking to somebody. Give me a break. You come over and say, hey, when you get a minute, I've done it with y'all. So, it can happen.
Sometimes you just got to get in amongst, in the middle of, switching people. Hey, come here real quick. Let me ask you.
100%. I know, Josh, you've done that. You've come by and said, hey, we want to talk whenever you get a minute.
Absolutely. And well, it's not but a minute.
I'll find you. If it's at a sale, I'll find you. You know that.
So. Yes. And I think this conversation rolls really well into talking about pedigrees. I'm going to ask you a straightforward question. And this is one of our real hot topics that I have seen off of Facebook forums and things. Is pedigree important? And if so, why?
It is 100% important for one simple reason. It tells you how that animal got here, right? If there are individuals and genetics in that pedigree that that you've heard, that you've seen across this industry, that you've seen those cattle go out and work, and you see them selling, and you see them making great babies, right? That's what that pedigree's for. It does not mean that the pedigree is a great individual. It does not mean that because it's an embryo calf or an AI calf, that it is all this much better than a natural calf. That's not the golden rule. But what you want to look for there is it out of Infinity or Cavalier or Gridmaster or Bravado or Unico. I can go on and on and on, right? But when you look at genetics, see if there's genetics in there that you know and that you've heard of. If it's, and I know I'll probably offend somebody, but if it's out of Betty Blue and Bobby Lee, and they're out of I don't know who got there, that's not going to get you a consistent, predictable product. And the thing that will make your purebred experience better is when you can get the predictability and the consistency in your production. In other words, I can put this bull with that cow and I get that good calf every time. That's what your goal should be. That's what you're trying to get. We all produce a coal. Everybody produces coals. It's just part of the business. This thing is not 1 + 1 = 2 every time. Anybody that's bred cattle, I do it. I go by and I make breeding decisions in I don't know how many herds, a lot. And sometimes you go, woo, boy, I was smart right there. Wasn't I? Good. That was perfect. And then one of them same deals where you think, man, this has got to work. And you come back and look at it and you say, what the devil happened there? And I think that's where sometimes people get disillusioned about pedigree, right? Because they hear, oh, pedigree, you gotta buy that pedigree. Well, you got to take that in with a grain of salt. My instructions to everybody is look first. The first thing you want to do when you look at an animal, and yes, you've got to learn what to look for. But when you look at an animal, is it straight? Is it straight across the top? Is it square hipped? Is it deep flanked? Does it have a nice udder set and teeth size and teeth placement? Does it have length of front on a female? Does it look like a female? Does it have the 60-40, 60 to the back, 40 to the front if you split them at the midpoint? Look at them first. If they meet your what you like, what you want, if it meets that, then go to pedigree second. Look at the pedigree, because it could be just one of those one-time things that happen. I don't want that. I want predictability. I want consistency. So I'm going to look at the animal. I'm going to look at the pedigree. Then I'm going to go to the individual performance. It needs to have some minimums in there. 500 weight weaning weight, 800-pound yearling weight. If you just put some minimums in there close around there, that's good. Then go to the carcass. I want at least an inch of ribeye per hundredweight. I'd like to have a 2 IMF or higher. Those are just benchmarks that you put in there, but start with one looking. then go to 2. If any one of those don't work, stop, walk away. Do not spend your hard-earned money on that animal. If the easiest thing is when you look at it, and it don't look right, but wow, look at this pedigree, and wow, look at those performance and those numbers. I don't care. If it don't pass number 1, I'm done. I'm gone. And if you will try to apply that when you're buying cattle and when you're selling cattle, both ways will turn out way better for you, I promise.
That's right. If you, like you're saying, if it ain't got the look that you're looking for, it's time to pass.
Mm-hmm.
And he does practice what he preaches.
I tell people that all the time. Look, I can tell you which ones that I like the best, but I am colorblind. I am quality conscious. Okay, that's me. So I'm going to tell you, go look at them. You go look, and then you come back and tell me, hey, I really like these animals here. What do you think? And if there's something on there that I don't like, let's go look. I'll tell you why I don't like it. I usually have it wrote down in my book, but I'm more than happy to go with people and look at them and try to explain to them what I'm seeing, and what I'm seeing either in the individual or the pedigree or those numbers. Everybody calls them numbers now. But if you'll look at that and think about that, this whole thing gets easier. Everybody tries to make it way too complicated. It's really not. If it was really complicated, a dummy like me wouldn't still be here. But if you stay with quality, and I know this is a word that everybody applies differently, right? Because if we all like the same woman, it would be the pits around here, wouldn't it?
That's right.
So apply that thought to your cattle. They don't all have to be cookie cutters. They have to be the kind of cow you like. But okay, let's try to take this cow that you like, and let's see if it's going to work with the bulls you got to use, or with what you can afford to buy to try to make this animal better. We can't all go out there and spend any number to get this animal or get this bull or this female in your program. But the way it is today is so much easier with the AI program. You can go out and touch a lot of really great bulls that you can't afford to buy that bull, but you can afford to get the semen if you've got access to people that can do AI for you or do it yourself.
So yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's a good point.
That's where the small herd, which I love, the small herd can compete with the big boys any day if you're willing to put in that work, the same work that they do. They just do it in a larger way, or maybe they got big pocketbooks. I don't care. If you go in there and work at it, when you're small, you just can't make as many mistakes. Well, when you're trying not to make mistakes, that takes these things I've been talking about, pedigree and quality look and all those little items. You gotta focus on those things. You can't just go in there and say, well, I couldn't afford that, but I'm just going to buy this thing over here because it's in my price range. Biggest mistake you ever make is that, because you didn't go through and look. And I talk to people every day that they'll go through a sale offering, and I may be talking to them, and they decide, yeah, that lot's just not for me. And then it goes through the sale, and they miss some they really wanted, and that one's in there at a cheaper price. Well, looky there. I must have missed that. Let me buy that one. Woo, there you are. You got her now, boy. You got to try to figure it out now.
That's right. And I like that advice. And that's something I've tried to talk to some newer folks that's kind of asked, always, there's always a better, a deal out there. Maybe if you wait, like you're saying, being patient and things like that. So, it seems like to me, sometimes people rush into it and overthink it a lot of times, especially in the heat of the moment,
Well, and the thing is, we are today in our marketing and in this breed is when I talk to people today about, let's go look at the animal. And they say, well, I just can't see length of neck and smooth shoulders and deep body and good flank and square hips and proper feet and leg placement and travel. Okay, well, let's work on that. Don't just skip it and go to the numbers. Anybody can read a dadgum number. And you know that 500 is less than 600 on a weaning weight. You know that 1,000 is better than 750 on a yearling weight. You know that 12 inches of ribeye is better than 8 inches. Okay, fine. But those numbers, now people are trying to take numbers first. And I believe that's where more mistakes are being made, because you can get a beef master to compete with any breed out there on just numbers. But it's the look you want, and it's the great females that we have a tremendous advantage on the maternal impact and the maternal influence in our breed. God just blessed us with that. We've got it. Now, as stewards of the breed, I believe it's our job to capitalize on that. So that dovetails right into the pedigree. About when I'm looking at pedigree, I'm looking for great females. The mother of the sire of the calf you're looking at. Who is that cow? Where did she come from? How did she get there? Is she a great cow, or is she just something in there? And on the bottom side of that pedigree, the dam of the individual you're looking at, who's her mother? When you look at mothers, the dams in a pedigree, and you stack great dams, you find these great individual females and you stack them up. They're on top, they're on bottom. They come through the sire, they come through the dam. There's your secret sauce. That will put great individuals. Great individuals make great individuals. Unknown individuals may make one, but they won't be consistent. And if they're not consistent, it's a problem. And there's been females that got advertised and got promoted, and man, they did great things for one ranch, but you never saw them do anything anywhere else. You stay away from that female, because that's what's going to happen to you. What you want is these great females that you say, man, I have seen Oasis everywhere. Well, I wonder why. Because she works, right? It doesn't mean she works every time. Doesn't mean she's the perfect cow. But start finding these cows that are showing up in multiple programs, multiple sale books all over this great breed. And they arrive from L2, from Cottage Farms, from Clark Jones, from all these people all across this breed. They have great females that start showing up time and time again. Well, that's what you look for in a pedigree. Great female.
That's exactly right. I mean, you're looking at, and like you said, that pedigree, that's your indication of keeping record of what's showing back up. That's the importance of them being stacked in there like that. So yeah, that's some really good advice to be taken home, because you may see a good cow out there, but if you don't ever see anything coming back, like you're saying, Bruce, you might be something to be thinking about looking elsewhere.
Yes, sir. Can y'all hear me now?
Yes, sir. You're back.
Oh, beautiful. I've just been sitting here listening, but I've not been able to talk. I don't know what the world's going on with this internet tonight.
Now you're going in and out, even now.
Well, take it away then.
I am so happy that isn't me doing that, because I see the challenge as we discussed earlier.
Man. Well, we got one last question for you before we run out of time, and may have answered it some already, but I guess to finish it up, what's one little quick advice that you'd give over anything regarding being a new breeder, even one that's been around a long time?
Well, it's kind of a culmination of what we've talked about look first, and how you go about evaluating what you want to do when you want to add something. I just think that's the number one thing. Look first, then go to pedigree, then go to performance, then go to carcass. Do that, and you'll come out all right. And then make a plan. I work with people all the time. We make a plan. You can ask Clark Jones out there, and you ask him what he and I talked about the very first time I met him way back yonder. And we made a plan, and then we worked the plan. And that's the simple advice I can tell you. That's the secret sauce to success.
Yeah, that's some good advice. I've seen over the few years, as long as it takes cattle to work itself out, if you change that plan in the middle, you may set yourself back years and years.
Yes, sir. Because nothing happens fast enough in the cow business. It's 9 months, and then it's another 9 months, and another 9 months. It never stops.
That's right. Anyway, we're going to about to be out of time, but we sure appreciate you coming on and giving lots of good advice. I think everybody's going to really enjoy this episode for sure.
Well, glad to do it.
Yeah.
Appreciate you doing it.
Yeah, we hate that Josh. I think he got cut out, so
Yeah, he did.
we're going to leave it without him, I guess. But anyway, like I said, we appreciate you coming on, and I believe everybody's going to enjoy this.
All right, thank you, Jared.
All right, we'll see.
See ya.
Well, we want to thank everybody for listening to the Beefmaster Banner podcast. Please know that we are on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and we are on YouTube. Just search Beefmaster Banner. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. We love hearing from you, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you.